Hello, everybody. We are back with our executive leadership series with Wagner Denuzzo. He is just published a brand new book, Leading to Succeed, covering the new wave of leaders, the new generation of leaders being Gen Z. I'm so excited to have you, Wagner.
Thank you so much, Jaden. It's exciting to be sharing what I wrote about. So I'm excited to talk to you.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so excited to hear about it. This entire topic is very close to my heart. So tell me, being an expert in all things leadership and the new wave, the new generation coming in as leaders, what is one major trend you've been noticing coming in with this new wave of leaders?
It's interesting because there's so many forcing functions impacting the workplace and us and how we see the world. But actually, I came up with the idea that there are 5 Ds. They are the characteristics of this new workforce. They are distributed because we saw what happened during the pandemic. And logically, we have distributed teams all over the world, all over the country. They are dynamic because actually they understand that we need short-term plans to advance, grow our skills. The skills are growing very quickly and disappearing very quickly. So you have to be very dynamic. So there's a dynamic in the workplace that we need to be attentive to. They are digital because they're digital natives. Of course, they are digital. They expect a commercial grade platforming experience in the workplace. They are diverse because demographics show that in 5, 10 years, we are going to be, demographically speaking, we are going to be very diverse. We're already diverse, and they're embracing this diversity, which is very great. And last but not least is what I think is the most important, discerning. The last D is for discerning. I do believe this generation is very discerning because now they have access to data. They have access to information about the companies they choose to join. So they're very discerning about what company do I join, what kind of culture this company has, what opportunities they offer to their employees, do they align to my values and my meaning, my purpose in life? So I love this new generational discernment because that creates much more meaningful decisions. And I think that's what the trend is to start listening to your critical thinking, to your values and beliefs, because the workplace is where you express all of them, you know?
Absolutely. Well, as a human capital consultant and executive recruiter, I'm super excited that we're moving toward diversity, that is growing. But I really want to focus on the discernment that you just talked about, right? There are so many studies. Actually, a recent study just found that Gen Z demands work that mixes career growth with personal well-being and a genuine sense of community. And companies, are kind of given a warning right now, right? Saying if employers don't meet those expectations, Gen Zers are not afraid to leave, right? You're saying they're more cautious about where they're going, but apparently 34% are actually expected to move within 2 years. And a
Yep.
Deloitte study found that a third of them would walk without even lining up another job. So they're very picky.
Yeah.
Employers who I think are investing in these areas, right, of engagement and retention, specifically around the areas that Gen Z is looking for, right? They're soon to take over about 30% of our workforce. They're going to see big dividends throughout the employee life cycle, right? Including benefits as lower employee turnover, higher retention, a happier workforce that, of course, moves to performance and productivity, more cost-effective recruitment. And I think these returns will only increase as more and more Zoomers or Gen Zers join the workforce. From your perspective, what can leaders do now to ensure that they're on the right side of this trend?
Well, and you're absolutely right. All those statistics is exactly what we are hearing. So, first of all, let's start embracing the short term. Embrace the idea that people are thinking in the short term about their careers. Because I tell leaders in HR, especially, when you hire people, start putting together a dynamic talent strategy. Don't make those long-term 5 to 10 years because nobody's going to be there for you to apply that strategy. What I say is this, there is a dynamic strategy. It's very simple. You hire someone In the first year, you have to convince them that they made the right decision. How do you do that? By coaching, by connecting them to the networks, making sure that they feel that they belong. So creating community, as you said. Second year, you have to prove that you're right and you are serious about developing them. Because think about it, all the commercial enterprises have career pages that talk about diversity, talk about development, talk about growth in career. But actually, you have to prove because the discernment is that they know if you are making commitments to them or you're not. So the second year is that manager conversations, this career, taking ownership for your development and offering them opportunities. But the third year is very interesting because people are going to be asking, what's next for me? Should I go cross diagonally, advance my career? They want to know that they are growing their career. So companies have the opportunity to say, hey, it's a shared accountability. You own your career. You need to know where you want to go. We give you the opportunity to assess your skills, to build skills, and the options that you have. And be comfortable with this. You make that informed decision. Is this the individual that's going to be part of your leadership pipeline? It's important to understand. Hey, do you have a leader there that you need to develop quickly? Or is this an individual who is a performer that has all these opportunities to grow their own careers? Or they will decide to leave, and that's okay. But this dynamic strategy works really well because it serves both the employee and the employer. That's what I say to them.
I love that. I do.
Yeah.
And as, an executive recruiter, as an executive search firm, a lot of the feedback that we hear, prior to this, I was also a technical recruiter, and the statement still stands. When they are looking for other roles and I ask why they're looking to leave their previous or current role, they always say, hey, there's no more room for growth for me here.
Yeah.
Or there's been a lot of turnover within leadership. And so either way, right? The retention on one side and having that growth plan, they're still relevant at no matter what stage you're in.
Yeah. But leadership is changing. I think you know that, Jaden. And I talk about this in the book. One thing that's really interesting what's happening is that now that we are talking about mental health in the workplace, emotional well-being, and all this, gives me the opportunity to talk on the book. I'm a licensed psychotherapist by degree and training. My whole career in corporate had a lot to do with my ability to understand my emotional triggers, understand how to react or respond, not react, understanding how you manage the dynamics between people, teams, and all that. So think about the new workplace. The new workplace, your manager might be your coach for your career and guidance, but they are not overseeing your work on a daily basis because you're in cross-functional teams. You're doing things, different things. So what do you need? You need to cultivate leadership skills from the beginning of your career. That's the premise of the book. I'm advocating that in this new transition, everyone is a leader. So leadership is everybody's business, I say, because it is. You develop the ability to manage yourself, your behavior, manage your career, manage team dynamics, manage this context environment, because let's be real, organizations are like families, are like communities. They're organisms with a lot of baggage. Nobody leaves the baggage at home. So there is a lot of baggage in organizations. Hierarchy, the old school thinking. You have a multi-generation organization. You have to understand that. So I love this because the new leadership skills is about developing your consciousness. I even say this, think about it. You don't exercise leadership if you don't express it. And you express your values, beliefs, and views of the world. So I'm saying the essential leadership expressions you have to focus on is consciousness. You need to know who you are. You need to understand that your emotional development, your family, caretakers, contacts in your previous life is influencing how you think. So we carry all that, don't we? When we see somebody who reminds us of somebody in the past who harmed us, immediately we judge them. There are triggers in life and then beliefs. I was telling a friend of mine, I'm an immigrant from Brazil. If I really acquire all those beliefs and discriminatory thoughts that I experience in Brazil, my bias would be much higher. But I had the presence of challenging what I call the lies. This is interesting. The lies stand for learned helplessness, because think about it. Martin Seligman, positive psychology, has done studies about this. If you show people that no matter what they do, they're not going to get the outcomes they want, they give up trying. So that's a lot of the corporate behaviors that we see. People try to grow their careers, they try to do more, but the organizations don't use their skills. So why bother? So there's that learned helplessness that we have to unlearn and be creative and allow ourselves to explore. Then there is the lies stand for L, learned helplessness, but I, imposter syndrome. We all have them. It's a natural occurrence when you are advanced to a position that you never had. How can you be so certain and confident in a position that you never had? The reality is, imposter syndrome is part of life, especially at work. We need to minimize the impact that has in your career to not derail your career. But it exists, is part of life. And then you have the external expectations that we carry on. Oh, I need to be a lawyer. I need to be at the top. I need to put that pin at the VP level, which is not very reasonable or realistic. And then you had the last one I really like is self-limiting beliefs. We need to understand our own self-limiting beliefs that we acquire from others that told us that we are not good enough, that we are not going to make it. For me as an immigrant, to be honest, was my own self-limiting beliefs, because my education in Brazil wasn't high level, wasn't Ivy League. My family was poor. I came to this country with no English, heavy accent, of course, when I started learning, and not a good education. So I said, how am I going to make it? I probably never going to make it to a good career or leadership position. I was wrong. Was self-limiting beliefs that was holding me back. So I want people to really challenge them. Once you challenge these lies, move on to develop your expressions of consciousness. Now use your own beliefs, not your parents, nobody else. Is your own views of the world. Is your own values. And self-confidence has nothing to do with knowledge. It's about knowing that you have the right to be where you are and you know that you can learn. That's self-confidence. So you do that, then you can become more curious about people and not throw your bias everywhere. Be curious about people that you don't understand. Be curious about other reality. Being curious is about exploring the others. How you manage people without bias? By being curious. And then you go that step ahead, which is the expression of courage. How do you get there? Very hard. But courage about action is about you having the conviction that you can make something happen. And you have teams, you have others that are co-creating something with you. So courage comes out of conviction and belief. So I love these three expressions because if we follow this method, you can eliminate all these hindering beliefs, these hindering problems that we all have, and allow ourselves to be creative.
I absolutely agree. Props to you for overcoming your lies, right? And being successful here in America. I absolutely commend you. You have done phenomenal things. You published a book, and I'm so excited for you. I think you spoke to something great, which is EQ, right? That emotional intelligence. It's one of the number one predictors of success alongside resilience, which I think you alone, right? Having that high EQ and moving from one country to the next,
Yeah.
and being successful in both has built resilience, right? And has proven you to be the successful professional that you are. So that is absolutely amazing. From your book, I want to really, I want to leave readers with something important, right? Something that stands out. And if you could leave these leaders with like the number one thing that you want these leaders to take away from your book, what would that be?
Okay, this number one thing has three parts, because I often say, just understand the ecosystem we are in, the context. Teams are the new unit of value in organizations. That's what I say. Because it's only through teams that you can really create capabilities that can be a competitive advantage. So It's not you alone or a senior leader alone. That doesn't exist anymore. It's the co-creation with diverse thought leaders, diverse people in teams. So keep that in mind. The other one that you have to keep in mind is that we all have to accept our limitations. We don't have capacity to add more things to our plates, usually. So it's not about extending our capacity for time, physical, emotionally. It's about creating clarity. Clarity creates capacity. That's what I say. So remember that clarity of direction creates capacity for you to do something of value. So, with those things in mind, you have to do three things for me. Awareness is not enough. So, one thing that you have to remember, awareness is good because we become aware of things. But that doesn't mean that we feel capable of doing or that we are accepting ourselves to do it. So, all these flaws that we have, that we carry, we are totally imperfect people. We are imperfect. I'm imperfect. You are imperfect. And accepting imperfection is really the best step you can take because that you eliminate shame and guilt because now you're accepting of yourself. I'm imperfect and I'm really good and valuable. So please understand awareness, acceptance, and then action. Those are the three things. If you want to take one thing from this call, is be aware, be accepting of yourself, and take action.
Oh, I love that. Words to live by. I know I'm going to live by them from here on out. Wagner, it has been such an honor and a pleasure to have you on here. I am so excited to read your new book, Leading to Succeed. Please let me know how others can access this book and the best way for them to connect with you.
Well, the best way is Amazon. It's on Amazon. You can buy it, Barnes and Nobles as well. Leading to Succeed, my name, and it's there. But to reach out to me, it's easy. Go to my website. I have a contact sheet. It's very easy. And you have some content there. Wagner Denuzzo Global. My full name, Global. And I'll be glad to respond. This being wonderful, Jaden, because every time we talk about these things openly, I think people start feeling more comfortable adapting and adopting these behaviors. So I'm glad that you're doing this.
I hope so. I hope so. And I will say the goal of these is awareness, right? But like you said, there are steps after that that are up to each leader
Yes.
watching to take. So if we leave
Wonderful.
you with anything, we hope this made you more aware. But after that, there are continuous steps to take to improve. And that's all we want to be, right? Is the best leaders we possibly can be.
Thank you, Jada.
Thank you, Wagner.